Hey guys, what's going on? It's Jordan. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for stopping by. Obviously, if you have clicked on this video, it's because you are interested in the GVM GT-J80D, which is a 32-inch aluminum slider for $299. So is it worth the price? Now, this is my very first motorized slider, and I can tell you that this thing rocks. Honestly, hands down. It does everything that you need it to do and more. There are a few things that I am not too fond of, and we'll go ahead and get into that here in a little bit. This does come with its own case. It also comes with a Sony style NPF battery. It comes with a bunch of cables to do time-lapse shooting for all the major camera brands, so Canon, Sony, Nikon, Fuji, GoPro, I believe Olympus, and possibly Samsung was on there too, if I do remember correctly. This also too includes the charger for the battery as well, and some extra little goodies, like you will get your controller, and you'll also get some extra little like bands for the motors themselves. Now, GVM claims that this will support up to an 11-pound camera system, but you will need a ball head to attach the said camera system to. The ball head is not included, just so you know. So you'll need to spend a little bit extra to secure one of those if you don't already have one. I actually have a Z mount bracket, or whatever those little Z plates are, and that will work in place of a ball head too if you don't have one of those, just so you know. I actually used one of those for about the first week that I had the slider, and it did what it was supposed to do. Now, like I said, this whole package comes in its own case, which is padded, and yes, it is kind of cheaply made. Basically, the padding is just a bunch of foam layers padded together, but it does secure it decently if you are traveling with it. So like, let's say if you're going over to a shoot or something, I don't think you'll have to worry about it getting knocked around too much. The whole slider itself weighs around 6 pounds, give or take, and then there are two mounting options underneath. One is a 1/4 20 and the other is a 3/8 16th underneath. So you have two mounting options. I actually went ahead, so I purchased two 1/4 20 Andy Cine quick release tabs, or like quick releases. So basically there's two pieces. You have one male and one female. I threw the males onto the bottom of the slider, and I threw the two female pieces onto two impact 6-foot light stands. And so basically this way, if I want to use it, it's pretty easy and it's pretty quick for me to just go ahead and set it up and break it down without actually having to take the light stand and thread it into the bottom of the slider. And then once I'm done, having to unthread it from the bottom of the slider to put it away. So I will say that my biggest gripe with the slider is basically setting it up to use, because you have to input the start points and the end points every time you turn the slider on and off. And I know this may be a small problem for some people, or maybe just kind of a nuisance, but to be honest, if your battery dies while you're shooting, you have to go and you have to start all over again from the beginning. And setting up a slider for a nice parallax shot is also kind of a pain too. If you use light stands as I do, the tracks will snag on the 1/4 20 posts sticking up from the bottom of the slider. And yes, you can use a tripod, but unless you have these slider support mounts for the slider for a tripod, the slider will tip from the weight of the camera, and the slider supports are an additional cost otherwise to an inexpensive option. Like I said, I use two light stands and the two quick release plates, or the two quick release mounts, and basically the little 1/4 20 thread sticks up from the bottom. So long story short, this slider uses a track system, so there's basically two bolts that loosen and tighten to allow the track to move on the slider. So if you are trying to adjust the tracks for a time-lapse or a parallax shot, the 1/4 20 mounts on the bottom will actually hit the track, because it is kind of a pain because you have to force it over those 1/4 20 mounts. So setting up a slider shot that is either a parallax or a time-lapse will take a little bit of trial and error, and the best way that I have figured out how to get it to just about perfect, basically what you have to do is you have to loosen all the bolts on the slider, on the head and on the track bolts with the power off, so you can slide the camera back and forth. If the power is on the slider, You will not be able to overpower the motors to move the slider by itself. So basically when the power is on, the motors are basically stuck in gear. When you power everything off or unplug the power, you're able to move it freely. So this way you can then slide the head back and forth with what you want to center and give adjustments as needed. Like I said, a little bit easier if you actually go ahead and turn the power off and do this. When I first got it, I was actually using the slider with the battery on to set my points and then also to adjust while it was moving, which actually it was kind of stupid of me. Now that have figured it out, it's going to be a lot easier. The tracks are easy enough to adjust by just giving small input until you've reached the path that you want. So once you have basically reached the points in the path that you want, you can go ahead and then power it up. You're going to go ahead and set your start and end points. You'll do that by heading into the menu, selecting the start point, start the slider by pressing the middle button, basically the enter button. If you want to go ahead and adjust the speeds, you'll hit either the up or the down button. The left or the right button is the direction that you want to go ahead and start. And then you'll go ahead and you'll end it with your end point at that. So shooting video gives you two options. You can either do a manual loop or you can do an automatic loop. Basically the automatic loop bounce back and forth until you tell it to stop. There is one, like a one path auto loop, so it'll start at one end and go all the way to the other. Or if you are standing behind it, let's say maybe you are shooting some B-roll or something, you can go ahead and just do a manual loop. Basically all you're doing is standing there and you are controlling it from start to finish. One thing I will note on the auto mode is that you will notice if you allow it to loop by itself, you will get hard stops at the end of the slider. I've noticed that if you stop the slider when you're setting up your points right before it hits the very end, you will get less of the like bounce effect and a lot less of shake in your video. Now, not everybody's going to use it from start to end, because like I said, you will get some like shake or some bouncing effects in your video if you let it go all the way to the end, stop, and then start to come back. Obviously I'll throw a little B-roll in here so that you guys know what I'm talking about, but so yeah, I mean basically you're just going to use everything in between that, so you'll have about 28 to 30 inches to work with. So in all, I would say that this slider will be getting used a lot more in my videos. It's going to be getting a ton more action because this does everything that I have been wanting for a very long time. For all the shots that I've been missing out, I can say that this will be an absolute must buy for anyone looking to add depth to their videos, because honestly, I've been wanting to use a slider. So I actually have a newer slider. It's like a little small 15-inch one. I've had it for the longest time, and honestly, I can tell you that that little slider, it just didn't work. And realistically, I mean, anybody that is looking to get just better slider motion in their videos, I mean, this is really what they've been looking for. I've only had it for about a month now, so give or take that, depending on when you see this video, but honestly, it's pretty solid, man. I mean, it does everything that you want it to do and more. I mean, I get all the shots that I'm looking to get, and honestly, I really don't have any issues with it other than just the whole thing with the tracks kind of getting in the way of the quarter 20 mounts, but other than that, I mean, it does everything that I want it to do and more. So if you guys like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, give it a like. If you didn't like this video, also give it a thumbs up. If you found this video at all useful, go ahead and give it a like, give it a share, give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop them down in the comment section below. I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit all the buttons. I'm Jordan, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.